Erasing your art to improve it. There are stories of art professors instructing students to erase their drawings they worked so hard on for hours. I think that was cruel. In this podcast, I will talk about the benefits of destroying your art, but not in this way. These teachers asked students to destroy art they had worked on so hard and for so long. There was a hard lesson there. Are you willing to start from scratch to make something even better if the result isn't perfect? This podcast will present a better approach to that. Welcome to the Practice Drawing This podcast designed to listen to while drawing. On to today's topic. Designing a chair is a classic assignment for design students. They have to create a chair that looks good in certain environments and that is also comfortable to sit in for anyone. And it has to be designed so that it can easily be mass-produced. You can see why this is a useful exercise for people who will specialize in designing tangible products. The designer will come up with a design after doing many quick study sketches meant to be thrown away later. It is important at this stage to not fall in love with the first design. If the designer likes the chair, great. If the designer should try to draw it again, but pushing the great idea further. If they don't like the design, that is fine too. They should try to come up with another design, but they should not fall in love with their first design and draw many options instead. After that, they have a workplace create a prototype of the chair. Then they place the chair in an environment it was designed for to see if it fits, if it looks good there. Then they invite people with different body types to sit in the chair to feel if it is pleasant to sit in. The designer makes notes on what they want to change to the chair. Then the prototype is thrown away. The designer goes back to the drawing board and makes more design sketches and arrives at a new, slightly altered, slightly improved design, and the workplace makes another prototype. The designer will use this iterative approach, repeatedly making a slightly better chair every time to arrive at the ideal chair, making throwaway sketches, making throwaway prototypes of the chair. The companies who create game consoles do the same thing for their game controllers. These controllers have to be easy to use for lots of different hand sizes and have to be pleasant to operate for hours and hours. To that end, they will again make lots of preparatory throwaway design sketches and they will have a workplace create prototypes. Then they have actual people try to use the prototype controllers. They get feedback on how the controller feels and they throw away the controllers and make small alterations to the design and commission another controller prototype and they test it again. Gamers with hands of all sorts of sizes and shapes will hold these controllers for hundreds of hours. The game console companies really have to get it right. If you follow the world of digital cameras, you can see that the camera manufacturers come up with a new, slightly improved design for their camera every year. The specs usually also improve, the images captured will have high resolution, the autofocus will be faster, etc. But also, they will make the camera hold more pleasantly, they will make the feel of the pressing of the buttons more pleasing, the texture of the body will hold more pleasantly. Note that the cameras in their current form have existed for around 100 years, and still they iterate, still they come out with slightly improved versions of cameras each year. The same can be said for cars. Even though cars have existed for a long time, car manufacturers manage to come out with new, slightly improved cars every year. Technology advances, but they also pay attention to how it feels to operate the car, and they make slight improvements from year to year, from model to model. You see a pattern here. Design something, create a prototype, test the prototype and make notes on where it can be improved, redesign, and then make another prototype. With the finished products, like for example what I mentioned, the cameras and the cars, the ones that they release are in fact also prototypes, of course. The people working for these companies use these cameras and cars themselves, and they realize that they can think up of slightly better improvements, and also maybe new technology arrives and they can use these new technologies to make slightly better improvements to these things, but the released product becomes the prototype then effectively. So why is this relevant to artists? Well, to begin with, animation companies use this process too. They will start with a script, which is written and rewritten and rewritten. The script versions are like a preparatory preliminary sketch, easy to change quickly. This is the stage where it is the easiest and cheapest to change things. Then, artists take the script and they make storyboards, very quick sketches of single shots, potential frames in the film. They try to design storyboards so that they help support the telling of the story. These storyboards are like preliminary sketches. They have to be done quickly. You have to not be emotionally attached to each drawing, not fall in love with your first design. Make many iterations of the design of each storyboard. If you like one storyboard, great. Draw another one and try to push the idea further. Don't like it? Then try out another idea, but don't go with the first thing you drew. Maybe there are better ideas. The storyboards are again throwaway prototypes. Storyboards can now be put into a sequence and presented to a team of creatives, storytellers, animators. But what they can also do is create an animatic. An animatic is when they take the storyboards and use those to make a film that approximates what the film might look like in the end. A prototype. They can now all go sit in a theater and watch that animatic, watch that film, and get a feel for whether that sequence would work, whether the shots would work, whether the pacing works, whether the dialogue works, whether it evokes the right emotions at the right moments, etc. And then they throw the animatic away, and the writer goes back to their keyboard and makes changes to the script, a new prototype, and the artists go read the changed and hopefully improved script, and they create new storyboards, new prototypes for the single shots of the film, and then another animatic is made, another prototype, and the crew goes sit in the theater and try to figure out what does and doesn't work in this prototype. And then they throw away the prototypes and they go back to their desks and they do it again. In the end, when they are happy with it, that's when they start the expensive production of the final movie. It would be extremely expensive to fix story mistakes in that stage, which is why they went through the scripting, storyboarding and animatic stages, because mistakes were still relatively easy to fix. In the final stage, the rendering of the animation is expensive. Rendering one frame can take a computer a day, for example. Imagine having rendered tens of minutes and having to throw all of that away. It's cheaper to just discover it in the prototyping stage, where it costs very little to regenerate. As mentioned in the beginning, in the past, teachers would ask students to erase their drawings. I think that was a cruel thing to do, to be honest, at least without explaining why. You, the student, feel like you invested so much time into your drawing and now you are forced to erase it. You are asked to destroy a piece of art you just made, that you just poured your heart in and your everything into for the past tens of hours. And now you're asked to erase it. But these teachers were, presumably, if they weren't just trying to be cruel, testing to see if you were willing to start afresh, if that could yield better results, to treat something you made as a prototype, to study and analyze and figure out what you could do better in the next attempt at it, to learn from it, to grow. You get better results in your next attempt. They were testing to see if you were willing to treat the drawing like a prototype. That is how many fine artists work, by the way. They create painting after painting, searching for something. Each painting is effectively a very expensive prototype, like the cars and cameras I mentioned before. Fine artists make finished paintings, but for them that is the prototype also. The finished product is also the prototype. They look at it, figure out what they don't like about it, and then go make another painting using what they just learned. Maybe they hang it onto their walls and live with it for a few days. Maybe they figure out if they want to change the composition, the colors, the size of the painting, and then they go make another painting. So the painting itself becomes the prototype. So if you're a fine art artist, you have the luxury of the prototype being the output. And that's a very valid approach. It's a perfectly valid approach. You get to hang a finished piece on the wall, live with it for a few days to figure out how you feel about it. But there are often less painful ways. You can make prototypes or even thumbnails in your sketchbook. Thumbnails are the ultimate prototypes for artists. If you want to make a painting or a character design, you can start by making tiny small sketches in your sketchbook. It's what I'm also doing right now for the thumbnails I'm drawing for the YouTube videos where you can listen to the same video podcast, to this podcast. It's just better to. It's also fun. So it's difficult, it's not easy, but it's fun to draw little thumbnails quickly to iron out the design. Keeping them small means you can draw them quickly so that you don't feel as emotionally attached to them and are more willing to throw them away. They also say draw small to think big, meaning that if you draw small, you cannot fret the details. You cannot lose yourself in details and you are forced to consider the bigger picture first instead. Plus, as the thumbnails are small, you can draw many on a sketchbook page and compare them and see which one pops out. If you get a chance, watch how Glenn Keane develops a drawing. He's an animator. He has a board with semi-transparent sheets of paper used for onion skinning in a 2D animation, which is when you flip through consecutive frames to see if the animation works. But he also uses it to refine character designs. He'll make a quick sketch of a character and then he'll lay a new sheet of paper over it and do a new design and a new iteration on that fresh sheet of paper, seeing the previous design shine through the page so he can follow it or change things like proportions and details and such and refine the design. He is in effect prototyping the design, improving it iteratively, one prototype after another. I'm actually often doing the same too. I like to draw on marker paper because it's very thin. I can see right through it. So if a design is not to my liking, I can put another sheet of marker paper over it and try to come up with a better design. Many problems I already solved probably in the first iteration, for example, proportions and such. So I can see through and reuse the proportions, but now focus on the details I thought I got wrong. There is this concept of a sunk cost fallacy. When you already spent a lot of time on a drawing, we don't want to throw it away as we already invested so much time in it. But we're not throwing it away. We got something from it. We learned that some aspects of it don't work, and so we get to do it better in the next iteration. We came away with knowledge. It's not so much about erasing your drawings as it is about redoing it, improving it with each iteration really. Another way to look at it is if you put your drawing away for a week or more, you will be less emotionally attached to it because you will have forgotten how much time you put into it, and it will be easier for you to change things. And so that might be something you might try if you just made something you're really proud of it and you just remember the 10 hours you put into it, and you're not as eager to throw it away yet or redo it. But what can help is just after time you're less attached to it. You've done different things. You draw better now. You see it, and it's much easier to try it again then. But you really can make it easier for yourself if you really consider these drawings as prototypes, and to only make a finished piece when you're absolutely sure about the design. That way, you only throw away cheap sketches that you made off the cuff, and you don't have to throw away that final piece you worked so hard on. A fun thing I like to do is to fill sketchbook pages with lots of attempts to draw something. I will fail heroically, there are often mistakes in each of them, but the page as a whole still often looks nice. And I don't really throw away those sketches, I keep them. I even post them online sometimes. You don't actually have to erase or throw away your drawings. Just be willing to try, to analyze your work, figure out where you can improve, make notes and try again, to treat each drawing as a prototype for the next one. Thank you for listening.